Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Mindset Kitchen podcast with your host, Sheyaf Hashim and Kareem Mustafa. What's up, bro? How's it going, Kareem?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. What's going on, Chef, bro? How's your week so far?
Week's good. Quite busy. But yeah, I think things are really picking up with work and with everything. Yeah, so quite pumped. So what about you? How's your week going so far?
I see you've been doing a good job at ignoring all the invisible scripts, and that's why you're seeing results, huh?
Yeah, bro. I've been trying a lot of new stuff. I've been trying, kind of honestly saying, last whole week, I've been like binge listening to our own episodes, Mindset Kitchen episodes, like every day, 1 or 2 episodes I've been listening. And surprisingly, it was, it was very helpful. Like, it
Bro,
reminded me of a lot of things. Yeah.
that's
So,
amazing. You're getting high on your own
up
supply.
until
Huh?
yes. Yeah, like seriously saying it's not just on my supply, like, a lot of things got refreshed, bro. Like
Yeah.
invisible script, the abundance mindset. So anyways, as usual, so anybody who's listening to us for the first time or just, jumped on the Mindset Kitchen recently, do check out our old episodes, subscribe, and give us feedback as well. So anyways, let's jump into the topic today, bro. I think people love it when we get into the topic straight away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So what's on the menu, Kareem? What are we discussing today?
Right. Today we're going to be talking about something that is very close to a lot of our hearts, which is, and yet we hate to admit it, which is this notion of what do you do when you're waiting for something really good to happen. If you're working on something and you're just waiting until you hit that specific milestone, it could be something that's within your control. It could be something that, you're waiting on other people. But what do you do while you wait? How do you work while you wait and actually trick yourself into actually getting what you want to get done, and to not actually procrastinate? Because as you'll find out in today's episode, waiting for something to be perfect is a form of procrastination. There's no other way around it, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, actually, this topic, before the podcast started, me and Kareem were actually talking about this as well. So, the way Kareem, his angle towards this is very interesting, because this is a problem. I think again, this is another issue that I think every topic that we discuss, this is something I have or I currently or sometimes I'm struggling with as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something also which I lost, a lot of time and energy. Basically, in a nutshell, it's about, doing things, basically perfectionism in a nutshell. This thing of this urge to have things in the perfect manner. Like, for example, even if it is, for example, putting a video out, to make sure if the light is correct, the sound is correct, like everything is top notch. If I'm actually, if it's anything, for example, for that matter. So today, I think we'll try and unpack this, like why this perfectionism is a big problem. Yeah. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people who will have different views on this.
Yeah.
But Kareem, you first, bro. What do you think? How do you think this affects? Like, how has it affected you?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's something that I'm practicing at the moment. It's something that I've been seeing results from, which is why I thought to bring it to the Mindset Kitchen. I thought I'd bring it to the kitchen. But yeah, long story short, especially if people are following our episodes and our journey so far, one of the things that Sheyaf and I try to do is to just genuinely just open up and be super raw and super transparent, and in many cases just vulnerable, so that you guys could learn from that, and not have to go through all the same madness. One of the episodes we did recently was around impatience, and I was talking about my struggles with impatience. I've definitely gotten a lot better at it since the recording of that episode, but I'm still not quite there. And today is almost like how do we actually start applying that, or the flip side of it, which is procrastination. And so for me, where it all started is, sometimes I would be working in a team setting, and I would underestimate how long something takes. Sometimes I'm surrounded by people who really know what they're doing and really pay attention to their craft, and they won't just put anything out there. Like, they want to make sure that everything is top notch before it sees the light of day. Meanwhile, I'm the impatient one. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, but this is like, this is just an excuse. Like, we could have just put something out. What if we put something out and then see how the market responds? And of course, there's arguments for both. Like, do you want something to be perfect, or do you want something to be quick and then maybe not perfect, but at least you'll get that kind of like feedback? And so whenever we make a decision together that, okay, there are benefits to doing something a lot faster as opposed to waiting with no guarantee of any success, we stumble because we realize, okay, well, how can we actually release something before it's actually ready? And we realize that we just need to change our definition of what ready means, changing our definition of what ready means. And so we realize that in some cases, by slightly lowering our expectations, or just, not being as perfectionistic as we used to be, and letting small things go, this could be a nice way for us to create something that's almost like an in-between solution. It's almost like a pilot or a trial. And sometimes it's not intended to be the final thing. It's kind of like being in a beta mindset, like, when you release a product, it's like in beta form. So we always try and, adopt that mindset, because we realize this is almost like a nice mind trick to trick ourselves into being okay with releasing something sooner rather than later. And by releasing, it could be a blog, it could be, like Sheyaf said, a video, it could even be like a big thing, like a product, it could be like a book. There's so many different things that you can release. It doesn't have to be something that's really big. It could even be, and Sheyaf, you can probably talk to this as well, but like having like even like a workout, maybe you're like, no, let me wait till I have the perfect gear and the perfect bicycle. Sheyaf, I know you have a story about that. The perfect conditions, and then I'm gonna go in and do the perfect Arnold Schwarzenegger workout, which is of course ridiculous. Even if you're like, oh, I need 1 hour, and I only have 30 minutes. Let me just forget about all this. No, get something in. Come up with an in-between solution, and then make it perfect later. And what we found is that sometimes when you put something out there, or when you finish something, and just declare it out there, many times you're like, you know what, it's actually not that bad. I'm actually going to leave it as is, which makes you realize, oh my God, I was like living in this illusion this whole time. What I wanted to do was perfect and ready to go all along. I was just stopping myself. But yeah, Sheyaf, over to you.
Yeah, one of the reasons I think Kareem is very much also his current journey that he's in, this is super relevant for him, and I can see the passion. But yeah, like Kareem, actually, I think Kareem communicated it very well. But I think for different people, Kareem, in different, they are in different areas in their life, yeah. Mm-hmm. But before I, explain this further, I'm going to actually throw some examples, like, a lot of examples. Kareem mentioned about workout. This is, like we said in many episodes, workout is something, fitness goals are something that people never end up achieving. Like overall in the world, if people fail in some objectives or some goals they have, the one of the first on top is fitness. And like Kareem just mentioned, one of the main reason is nobody says, I don't want to be fit. Yeah, there will be very few people who would say, you know what, I don't care. Khali wali, I don't want to be fit. Like most of the time, the excuses are, you know what, I want to go to that right gym.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to get that. I'm waiting to find that right kind of diet. I'm waiting for that right kind of trainer. I'm waiting for my friend to join me.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So all these excuses end of the day, the intention was not to, be unfit. The intention was to do it in the right and the perfect manner. Mm-hmm. And in this process, let's just assume for 1 month, this did not happen. So what happened is 1 month passed away and it just went by and you did not achieve. But instead, like what we're discussing, leave the perfect thing for a moment. Okay. Let's look at, what we can do today or what is in between. Okay. Go have the perfect gym, have the perfect partner. But until that day, what can you do? Because what happens is eventually you might find yourself in a very different place when that actual time comes. Yeah, this is one example. Second, very big example I know about a lot of people. There are a lot of Instagram pages. There are a lot of really good pieces of art. There are really good photos. There are a lot of poetry. There are a lot of stuff which has not seen the day of light because some people thought, this is not perfect yet.
Ooh. Very true.
Okay. Because just before the call, we were just talking about the guy, the CEO of Patreon. And this one thing he actually just, art is never finished. It's abandoned. And this is so true. Like, I know personally, like immediately in my circle, a lot of talented people or people who are extremely hardworking just because of whatever standards they have of perfection. Yeah. They're just waiting still to perfect that thing. They're just waiting. I will start my Instagram page. I will start my YouTube channel the day I have that, I've hit perfection. And the funny thing about perfection is as you get older in life, your standards, most of the time, the perfection standards, like the bar keeps going high and high. And usually how do we set these standards is what we see. Yeah. And every week in week out, when you're let's say there is a very famous, I don't want to get into that example. It's not a good example, but what you can think is like in the first month, you thought your video needs to have like, for example, this kind of color coding, like the video has to look in a particular way. The lighting has to be in this particular manner. This is a trend. It took you 1 month to actually perfect this. And the day you perfected this, you start noticing the whole trend has changed. So, the goalpost has changed now. Something else is perfect now.
Yep.
So
very true.
This is the second example. I think a third example would also be, now this comes to, I don't know, this is a very funny thing. I don't know how much of it is practical, but Kareem, I don't know. Like, back home, when people want to get married, I think it would be a very touchy subject, but, people wait for that perfect person.
See, okay, well, that one's a little bit different. Come on.
No, Kareem, hear me out.
Someone wants
I
to
know,
wait
like
for that. I get it.
No, not like that. Okay, I'm talking about like say, I'm not saying you go for a beta version for the time being. You step. Like you put up with something. But what I'm saying is, people they have a particular benchmark. Some of it sometimes is. Sometimes it's unrealistic. Yeah, unrealistic.
Man, it's like, did you see that Netflix documentary, Indian Matchmaking?
No, I just watched here and there, but I saw some of the stuff. Yes.
Yeah. They're talking about what you're talking about,
bro. Without seeing the documentary, bro, I can. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, without seeing the documentary, I know. So it's a very good example that what happens is back in India, there is like golden years when your market value is really high. It's messed up, but this is reality. If you're in this age to this age, your prospect of getting married or finding that right, because a lot of people are still doing it the traditional way or the cultural way, which is it is arranged. Marriages are much more arranged. Marriage, yeah. So I don't know about. Yeah, I'll talk about some of the people I know, guys. Yeah, I'll not talk about women. I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, I'll talk about the guys where they're my age now, and they're not married, and because they cross 30. It's very difficult for them because all of them were waiting for some unrealistic expectation, for that perfection.
Interesting.
Which end of the day, what happens is, and this is one more thing I actually also realized. Okay, now let's forget about marriage. It's a very sensitive topic. Even this YouTube channel or this business idea, very big example also. Lot of business ideas are in people's laptops or in their books or in their notepads. Which they are just waiting to get the perfect time to actually launch. But what happens in time is all of these things, like you completely lose, or it either becomes outdated, your idea becomes outdated or somebody else does it, or you completely lose focus, on what was the actual reason you wanted to start at the first place.
Yeah.
Because if you look
start
at
obsessing over small things and you lose sense of the big picture overall. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You completely lose the big picture. And one other very interesting thing also that I remember reading about this long back. Okay, I read about this perfectionism thing long back. This is, I think you mentioned this already, Kareem. This is the best reason for procrastination.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it's not perfect yet. So you just want to keep working until it becomes perfect. And in a weird way, this is, this is the worst of all, man. You trick yourself into feeling that you are productive, or that you're doing something that's righteous, and that's, no, like I'm just going back to work, on what I need to do, or I'm going back to something that I'm extremely guilty of, which is going back to research. This is a killer, man. I hate research, man. Research is something that's important, but it becomes lethal, truly, after a certain point, because I think they call it, Sheyaf, you read, I think a lot more than me, so you probably know the word, but it's when you are I think it's over researched or over education, you know too much that you're paralyzed, and this could be
it's called analysis paralysis, bro.
Analysis paralysis, right? Yeah, a paradox of choice, all that. It's too much, to the point where you can't even, I'm exaggerating now, but you can't even eat anything. You're like, oh, are eggs good for you or bad? Because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Or are fruits good for you? Fruits are bad because of sugar, right? And so, and that's for the simplest topic, which is food. Imagine other things like your craft or your work.
And like I said, this analysis paralysis also is it's a serious problem, bro. Because people, like you said, it's a vicious cycle, which you analyze, and because of the extreme analytics, right, you get paralyzed. And the thought that actually came to mind is even information overload. One of the reasons, I know a lot of people who, like you said, Kareem, I read more than you, maybe that's what you think, but I'm very, very careful. In 2014, 15, 16, these 3 years, I was heavily into listening podcasts. In a week, I would listen to 3 or 4, at least in a week, 3 or 4 different podcasts. Each podcast, I would listen to an episode or 2. Like Tim Ferriss show, the different school of greatness, the art of manliness, all this different kinds of podcasts, I used to listen to. Some of them will be about, back then I just had, newly married, about relationships. One is about personal development. One is about technology. Nice. If you actually see these 2 years, right, I do not I wouldn't say that, obviously I was still an entrepreneur. I was pushing the envelope. I was trying to get the business in a different direction. But because of this extreme load of information, right, by the time you actually process or you try to process this extra load of information, you never end up doing much.
Yep.
Where in 2019, I decided this, and I keep telling this to some people. Okay. Usually I'm not, there was a time, for example, when I see somebody has a very big bookshelf, okay, has 50, 100 books, and I see this person listening to podcasts day and night. I used to feel, that little bit of I was like, wow, I used to feel a bit threatened, or I used to feel this is something that is not good, but I used to feel, oh man, this guy's learning so much. This guy's, that good kind of jealousy, towards learning, he's learning too much. Yeah. I used to feel jealous, because he's learning so much, he'll implement more. But something funny that I actually, not necessarily, because I realized this the hard way, because I started hanging out with some people. I was in the circle of people who I would say, they used to consume a book, at least, consume, when I say not read, I used to literally consume a book a week.
Swallow
5 to 10, swallow a book, 5 to 10 podcasts easily. There is podcasts of startups, and many of the concepts I learned about technology startups, I learned from these people with discussions. I never listened to this podcast. For example, the Y Combinator has a crazy podcast. Okay, which, they talk about everything about startups. But what I ended up realizing is none of these people executed anything till now. I know them even now. They don't execute. So sometimes this whole thing of information overload is what actually stops us as well. And there is I just remembered there is a very famous quote also, which actually says, perfection is the enemy of doing.
Of course, man. And just to add to that as well, and it goes back to something important you said towards the beginning. I just realized it now. There's a really famous. So I've been studying a lot more about like personal finance later, recently. I mean, in terms of like how to save money, how to invest, stuff like that. You know, and how to make like small decisions with like little money that actually over the long term are like great for you. So I found this guy called Dave Ramsey, and he's I could definitely recommend him to you, bro. Like Dave Ramsey is like one of like he's like the Michael Jackson of like personal finance, you know. He's so
Does
funny
he
because
dance?
no. He's like this older American guy, and people call him on the phone, and he would like he'd be like, "Why'd you do this? That's not smart." Blah, blah, blah. But then he would go ahead and give like the most amazing like advice. But yeah, he's such a character. But the point is, he was talking about how like he has this theory which makes total sense. It's just pure math. That like if you invest, I'm getting somewhere with this, but like if you invest like $100 every month for 40 years in a mutual fund that gets you like a 12% return, you would be, I'm terrible at math, but you'll basically be a millionaire within like 40 years. And then if you have the means to invest more than $100 every month, you're only going to hit that like millionaire mark like faster. And his whole like thesis is that, guys, like it's not rocket science. You know, it's all about just investing money and just doing it consistently. And he says like one of the biggest reasons why people are afraid of investing even $100 every month is because they keep comparing. They're like, okay, but this fund they charge a fee. This other fund,
Yeah.
the fee is 3.3. This one's 3.4. 3.4 versus 3.3 is going to be a lot of money over. He's like, all this stuff is ridiculous. The biggest reason, like people, he's like, no one ever got bankrupt because they ended up paying 3.5% instead of 3.3%. They went bankrupt because they didn't invest money. And so, to your point, perfectionism in this case could be, okay, let me find the most
Finding
perfect,
that right product, finding that right mutual fund. Yeah.
yeah, the most perfect scenario with the most perfect, let's say, broker or service that will not take that much money, and months and months go by. Guess who's making money? The person who already invested, a couple of months ago, even in not perfect scenarios. And here's the secret, man. It's not even a secret. It's crazy that we even think of it like that. But the best thing is that even if you do, you talked about Jack Conte, the CEO of Patreon as well. He said, everyone wants to finish something, but why don't you just get to the stage where you just publish it? And something may never be finished, but you make a decision to publish it, which is kind of like the finishing. And so the best thing about it, and the secret really, is that after you publish it, if you are so inclined, you can go and iterate on it further. But even if you don't iterate on it, at least you've done it. If I go out today and I do, let's say I'm feeling extremely lazy today, and I like to do a 30-minute workout every day, which is not even that much, but today I'm ridiculously lazy. I do 15 minutes. I could tell myself, oh, no. Go out when you're ready to do like at least a proper 30,
Yeah.
In which case I've done 0. Or I can do 15, which is better than 0. Compounded over time, the compound effect, right? I think we talked about that before.
No, I think we are yet to
matters.
cover it in an episode, by the way. Yeah.
We'll talk about it in more detail then. But yeah, I mean, it's ultimately you just get into this habit of, finishing or publishing, or choose your favorite word. You just get to this habit of finishing stuff. And I don't know if we talked about this either, Sheyaf, or not, but like, again, this notion of quantity breeds quality. A lot of people keep saying, no. No. We're quality over quantity. Come on, who do you think we are? But I could not disagree with that more. From now on, for me at least, it'll always be quantity over quality, man. Because the research shows that quantity, repetition, learning how to do something time and time again, you cannot help but get better with time. Pick your favorite example, like Mozart or Beethoven. They wrote like hundreds and hundreds of symphonies, and yet we all know just a handful of them because these are the ones that are like amazing. Not a lot of people know that most of their stuff that they've created is actually not that great. It's actually very mediocre, nothing worth commenting about. But this process made them into a freaking like household name. Now you say someone is the Beethoven of this or the Mozart of that. It's all about that repetition. And so one way to get your reps up, to get that quantity up, is genuinely to just be satisfied with what you've done and move on to the next thing, or just put it out there and then iterate on it later. And Chef, I'll say this last thing before I hand it over to you. I don't usually talk about my achievements or whatever, but like, for example, I've published a book like last year. When I published the book, I gave it to a bunch of people for free, and just to get like feedback and things like that. And they told me, hey, there's a typo on this page, and this page. And there's one sentence that was like worded wrongly. And hey, this part is really interesting, but why didn't you talk more about it? A bunch of feedback, right? And I could have like withdrawn the book from Amazon, but I just kept it. And I kept it on, and people kept like, buying it and stuff like that. But recently, I think about a couple of weeks ago, I went in, I fixed a bunch of stuff, and I've expanded on one of the chapters like greatly and stuff like that. And then I republished it again as a second edition, Chef, as you're saying. And I'm sure it's not perfect.
Edition,
yeah, I'm sure it's still not perfect. And I'm sure there's still some other typos that I didn't even find yet. But it's okay, because this is just the best I could do right now. Maybe there'll be a third edition which will be even more, I don't know, more precise or something. But it's just about getting into the habit of it. And if I decide to do this for the long term and become like an author or something, maybe, who knows, by book 15, maybe book 15 will be perfect then. I don't know. But the point is, you just want to get the ball rolling and see how far you go.
True, bro. I think this is also, when I got into, digital, for example, marketing and all these things, I used to come from design. And in design, most of the time, especially in design, this is, if you're doing something for yourself, it's easier sometimes to actually just, be in between. But most of the time when you're actually working with clients, this is why I said there'll be some people who might actually say it is quite challenging. Okay, either you have to have something which is half-baked, for example, and you need to have the convincing skills to actually convince your client or the other person saying this is the final product, for example. Yeah. But after I got into the current line, into digital, into marketing, right, I understood this concept of shipping fast. Ship fast, fail fast, ship fast, fail fast. For example, instead of, like you said, if it is something, now anybody who's listening, think of anything that you're currently planning of doing, but you've not been doing it, or you're just still waiting for that right moment, right person, that funding, that whatever. Actively or subjectively look into it, like what can you do, like Kareem said, in Kareem's word, in between, so that ultimately you can reach there. So, if you already have like you were thinking of creating a series of 10 videos, if you have the 2 videos, put it out there. Now, I remember having this discussion with one of the guys that I talk to a lot. He had this perfect, this is, I think, one of the kids, I don't know if I mentioned to you, he's making videos, He might be even listening to this podcast. So he started a channel. He made a script for the first 8 videos.
Nice.
And after 2 videos, this guy just disappeared. So I had a kind of an accountability thing going on with him. So I messaged him like, bro, what's up? So he's like, you know what? The biggest challenge I'm facing right now is my scripts, because there are a bit of technical information in this. This has to be validated, and I'm not finding anyone to validate it, because it has to be perfect, because this is some sensitive kind of information that you cannot give out without validation. So I said, this is your biggest problem. Chuck this need for validation, spin your whole script around, where you talk about things where you don't have to discuss technical information. What happened is, so sometimes, this guy, he wanted to actually make sure things were like 100% perfect. But because of that, he was easily able to roll out like 3 or 4 additional videos within a week or 7 days. Whereas for like 2-3 weeks, he was stuck. And even when he was going to start his series, and his series looks quite well, and his YouTube channel is doing pretty decent now. He already has, I think, 5 or 6 videos already. Nice. He was waiting for the perfect lights. He was waiting. And when he got in touch with me, he had already placed an order for this perfect ring light from Amazon UK. I'm
Did
like,
he
if you would have
cancel the
messaged,
order?
no. He still waited for it, but I told him very clearly, if you would have messaged me 2
Yeah.
weeks back, I would have just told you to pick up your phone, because end of the day, content is what matters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like,
the substance behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think even look at Mindset Kitchen as an example. Like when we started Mindset Kitchen, the beginning there was no video. We only did audio. And if you actually look at, there was no branding in place. There were some weird colors. It was me and Kareem's face everywhere. That was just something we put together. And the funny thing is, Kareem, me, we are in this field of work where we work with a lot of video. We work with a lot of, but I knew for sure, and Kareem also knew it equally. If you actually wait for everything to come together, we would not have pushed out like 10 episodes. We would have waited for everything to come together.
Man, that's
So
a great
now,
point,
you know-
because we actually come from that. We actually come from that industry.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
people would think that at least they will, even maybe they will wait until everything is perfect because they come from the industry. But even we didn't wait. We're like, no, let's just go.
Yeah, we just went with it. So
Yeah.
because again, end of the day, we know this firsthand. Like you also equally experience, Kareem. You know what will happen. Like if I say, you know what, Kareem. Like if any of you saw the last week's episode as well, the one which came out last. If that was a very good example as well. Like Kareem was in his hotel. He was traveling. Even though I am quite like I usually tell Kareem, like we talk, let's get the video correct, but we just had to fly with it. Like if we would have waited, we would have missed one more week of not recording. So I think we are talking about conflict avoidance, the episode. Yeah. So I think we will wrap the
100%.
episode, but the key takeaways from my side is or what we've been trying to convey is, don't fall for this trap of perfection. Perfection I think comes in time, but meanwhile you have to actually do something about things. What about you, Kareem? What is your summary, if you have to tell the listeners or viewers?
I couldn't have said it better, man. Ultimately you have to figure out what you're gonna do while you're waiting, and you might be pleasantly surprised with what you learn about yourself. For example, that your work is just fine as it is, or for example, that you will get better the more you publish stuff anyway, or put something out anyway, or finish that work out anyway. Yeah.
And this whole shipping fast thing helps you fail faster and learn faster as well.
Yes.
It's like waiting 1 month for putting out that perfect video and then finding out it was not good enough because of the feedback. Or in this one video, in 1 month, you could have put out 4 videos or 10 videos.
100%.
And by the 10th video, you would have gotten better because 3 or 4 videos, you might have gotten all the feedback. So I think that is the main takeaway, guys. Don't fall for this perfection thing. Most of us who've been running behind this, we have suffered. We hope you don't go through the painful process. So that's all, guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Make sure you subscribe to wherever that you're listening the podcast from, be it if you're watching it on YouTube, if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Make sure you subscribe. And we would love to hear from you guys as well. And if there is any recommendation for any episodes or any topics, we would love to hear. So having said that, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Have a lovely week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.